This video is brought to you by Robinhood, the free and easy to use investment and trading brokerage. Robinhood allows you to trade and buy stocks, ETFs, bonds, and cryptocurrencies completely free. Also, if you download using the link in the description below, you'll get one free stock valued up to $200 just for signing up. No, you don't have to deposit a dime, and you could become instantly a part owner in companies like Microsoft, Walmart, McDonald's, or Disney just by getting lucky. So download Robinhood today and start taking advantage of this historic 2020 stock market crash. No, that's not my full portfolio. You guys aren't ready for that just yet. What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, checking out the last revealed cards from the Rise of the Duelist booster set. At this point, we know everything that is in the OCG version of this absolutely amazing set, and I'm just tying up a couple of loose ends. When you get to the final cards in a core booster set, usually people like to call this pack filler, but some of these cards ultimately end up being niche cards that are very useful in some kind of forgotten about archetypes, and these cards are still kind of fun. Sometimes they continue on lores that exist in Yu-Gi-Oh, and that's why I always like to cover these cards. Regardless, we're going to break them down. The first card is actually going to be a flip effect based support card. This is Junk Sleep. It's a continuous trap card, and you got a hard once per turn on both the first and second effect. However, you can use them both in the same turn. The first effect says if your opponent normal or special summons a monster or monsters, you can change all face down defense position monsters you control to face up attack position. Second effect, during your end phase, you can change all monsters you control to face down defense position. So obviously this is not applicable with link monsters, but this to me screams flip monster effects. And obviously there are some flip archetypes out there that even see meta play. I'm talking about your Shadows, even though we know that Shadows were highly meta relevant and highly successful because they weren't completely like live and die based on their flip effects. They were just kind of icing on the cake. When I look at this card, I don't think I would play it in Shadows because Shadows already have multiple ways of flipping their monsters face up even during the opponent's turn. I'm looking at an archetype that like lives and dies 100% off of the flip effects, and to me that represents something like Crawlers. Now Crawlers have a card very similar to this, which is another continuous trap called World Legacy Pawns. It basically does the same thing, except this card allows you to flip all your face down monsters face up, so you can get multiple flip effects at the same time. This card can definitely be even better than World Legacy Pawns under certain situations. Also being able to flip maybe 2 or 3 of your crawler monsters face down during the end phase. Keep in mind, flip effects for the most part, well, a lot of them are not hard once per turn, so you can activate them over and over again. And if you get this and pawns out at the same time, you can flip your monsters face up and face down and constantly juggle the flip effects over and over again, very similar to how like Subterrors do with Subterror Guru. I would definitely recommend this in a crawler deck just for more consistency. If you're not getting your flip effects off while playing crawlers, you're not going to win the duel. And those are probably the two main flip base archetypes that I think most people would play. Maybe in Gravekeepers, but Gravekeepers, they started out pretty flip heavy, now not so much. But who knows? In the future, Konami might give us more flip-based archetypes, ones that are like crawlers that rely on the flip effects a little more. And honestly, I think that this is a solid card because you can use this in those flip-based decks. The only downside I see with this card is the fact that you do have to wait for your opponent to summon something before you get to flip that face-down monster face-up. But let's be real, if your opponent's not summoning in any given turn, you're probably in a good position anyways. So I don't even think it's that big of a downside. Next up, we have another Gizmek monster. This is Gizmek Kuramitsuha, the Draconic Deluge Divinity. It's a level 10 water machine monster, 2950 attack and 2950 defense. You got a hard once per turn on your first and third effect of this card. Your first effect says if there are 2 or more monsters special summoned from the extra deck on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. Second effect, you can pay 1500 light points, destroy all monsters on the field, special summon from the extra deck. Also, you can only attack with 1 monster for the rest of this turn. Third effect, if this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, keep in mind that includes battle, you can banish 1 monster from your opponent's graveyard, then gain life points equal to its attack. So it's a strong card, but it's definitely matchup specific. Now, I would like to point out you can use extra deck monsters on your side of the field to count, but when I look at a summoning condition like that where there has to be 2 extra deck deck monsters on the field. Well, monsters that were special summoned from the extra deck. It can't be like extra deck monsters reborn from the graveyard. I'm thinking you're basically going to want to go second against like some sort of combo oriented deck. Think, Adamanticators or a Guard Dragon based deck. A deck that's trying to set up a big board. Pendulums would probably work in that instance. And if you're going to go second against those decks, like, yeah, this can be a very strong card. Not only can it just beat one of your opponent's big monsters down because it does have damn near 3,000 attack, it has an excellent effect that pays 1,500 life points and just destroys all of your opponent's extra deck monsters. So situationally, I think that this card could end up being very similar to something like Dino Wrestler Pankatrops, where it's a card that maybe you want to side in if you're blinding seconds, or if you know you're going to be going second against a deck that really wants to use its extra deck pretty hard. Like, this is a card where if you're able to resolve it, get it on the field, it might end up killing all your opponent's monsters, most of them with its effect, and then maybe the other monsters by simply attacking. I think that this card looks particularly spicy and maybe rank 10 trains, because keep in mind this is a machine monster. It's also level 10, and the fact that it only makes you, or the fact that it only allows you to attack with one more monster for the remainder of the turn, that's not a problem for the train deck, because a lot of times when they use Liv's effect, they're only going to be attacking with her anyways. So this deck could, or that deck could definitely incorporate this card. Not sure if main deck worthy and any decks, unless we just get to a format where, decks like Zodiac and Adamanticators are completely dominating, because, again, this card's great for those matchups, but it's an interesting card nonetheless. Next up, we have Dice Try again, and that's obviously a play on words from the old trap card Dice Try. You can see you got Snipe Hunter, and that's one of those Archfiend cards, one of the ones from DM era, from like Dark Crisis, that entire archetype back then. It used to revolve around like dice effects and whatnot. Actually, one of the worst experiences I've ever had at a regionals came with Snipe Hunter. This was back during the GX era. I rolled a die. It was an oversized die, which I probably shouldn't have rolled in hindsight. I rolled it 4 times and I missed on Snipe Hunter 4 times in a row, and I have not played Snipe Hunter since, and that was all the way back in like 2006 when Snipe Hunter was like a super meta card. I think Snipe Hunter was limited to 1 during GX era at one point. Anyways, Dice Try again is a quick play spell with a hard once per turn. The first effect says roll a 6-sided die, and if the result is a 1 or 6, add 1 card that has a dice rolling effect from your deck to your hand. Otherwise, roll a 6-sided die again and apply the following effect. So this card is still bizarre. Okay, so if you miss on your initial roll, you re-roll, and if you get a 1 or a 6 on your second roll, you return this card on the field to your hand, and if you happen to get a 2, 3, 4, or 5, you return this card on the field to the top of your deck, which, ouch, that is super painful, because now you're getting the same card and you're also not getting like a real draw. You're not getting a new fresh card to help you out. So this is obviously one of those like meme worthy cards. Of course, we get a couple of meme cards in every set, and it's basically, I guess at its core, it's kind of supposed to be a rota search for one of your die rolling cards. I'm not sure how good that is, because God, I can't remember the last time that we really had a die rolling card in the meta. I mean, I guess, do we have to go back to like Snipe Hunter, which was a meta card at one point, but that was already back in the GX era. I do like the fact that even though your rota is not guaranteed, if you don't get your rota, you still have a pretty good chance of adding this card back to your hand so that you can try to get that rota during your next turn. And the fact that it's a quick effect, I don't know if that actually matters, because if you get the rota search, it's not like you're going to be able to use the card that you searched immediately during your opponent's turn. So I'm not sure it being a quick effect or a quick play spell, I'm not sure that honestly matters. Look, the fact of the matter is, this is more just a meme worthy card. There's almost no chance that you're actually going to play this and anything competitive. If you're building, a Joey deck with Graceful Dice and Skull Dice and cards like that, then you can definitely mess around and have a little bit of fun. But, it's just a meme-worthy card at the end of the day. And finally, we have Draccoon Lamp, and this is a level 4 Fire Worm monster, 500 attack, 2000 defense. Shockingly, neither effect, the first or the second, is a hard once per turn. You don't see that very often in Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2020. The first effect is a quick effect, and it says once per turn, you can discard one worm monster. That's a cost. This card gains 1000 defense until the end of this turn. Second effect, once per battle, if this attack position card battles another attack position monster during damage calculation, you can apply both battling monsters defense for damage calculation. Okay, so this is a super interesting card because it's designed very similarly to like the super heavy samurai monsters, where it uses its defense points whenever it's battling. But what's really cool about this guy is not only can he modify that by discarding a worm monster, he actually can make your opponent use their defense points for damage calculation as well. And that is actually kind of insane. This is like one of those cards that it feels like if maybe Worms had like a super deep pool to work with, could be a really good splashable card. Now there are some solid Worm archetypes out there. You know, there's like True Draco, True Kings, and Tenyi, also like Yangzings, etc., etc. But the only one that works where this card would kind of benefit from it is probably Tenyi, because the Tenyi monsters, of course, like they're pretty good discard fodder. They can activate in the graveyard. I kind of like the design of this card in a vacuum. I wish it could just discard any card. I wish it didn't have to be specifically a worm monster. Then I could see this card being great for like stun and beatdown decks, because I think this is actually a really solid standalone card. But you know, maybe you can fit it in to a spicy build of Tenyi or something like that. This card actually reminds me a little bit of like Injection Fairy Lily. It's like this little monster that can theoretically beat over huge monsters, because this card could even kill like a 3000 attack monster even without using its effect, because there are a lot of 3000 attack synchro and XC monsters that have very low defense points, and you could just kind of run them over without even needing to discard. But honestly, in a vacuum, I kind of like the design of this little guy. Anyways, whatever you guys think of these cards, you leave that in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.